Peace, 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 y'all. Happy day 16 of our winter wellness check-in. Welcome to our wellness check-in. So today we're going to do things a little differently because we're going to talk about dreams. You know, when's the last time you had a dream and you remembered it? Oh, wait. So, just recently I had a dream. And when we talk about dreams, we're not going to be here to analyze them, right? We're going to just notice what they're telling us, about our rest, our sleep, and our boundaries and emotional processing. Welcome, everyone. We're going to be talking about dreams. So what inspired today's video, or today's check-in, was this colloidal magnesium that Dr. Banks from yesterday had shared with me. Since taking this, I've been able to have a lot deeper rest when I sleep, which triggers REM sleep, you know? And so with REM sleep, I'm able to wake up and remember my dreams. So I'm so grateful. And so when I woke up with this dream, I was like, let me write this down. I'm going to write this down. And I just felt a lot of power after thinking about this dream. Okay, so I'm just going to share my dream that I had recently. So if you want to hold on tight and listen in, I'd appreciate it. But also think about the last time you had your dream, and you've been dreaming, and what was the last dream that you remember, you know? Okay, so I'm going to share my dream. So in this dream, I woke up with a text. I'm turning the music down. I woke up with a text from somebody that I knew, and they said that they needed coverage for a babysitting job, and they said that they couldn't make it. So and they said, you'd be perfect for this, you know, here's the address, here's the time, and this is the pay. And I was like, okay, cool, say less, I'm in there, and I'll help you out, right? And so I drove about 40 minutes away, and I knock on the door, and this little girl answers. So in my dream, you know, I can see and visualize all the colors and, you know, what the people look like, right? So I knock on the door, a little girl answers. She's about 8 years old. She's got long blonde hair, and she's fully dressed as Princess Aurora. You know, the dress, the pink dress, you know, with the, I don't think she probably had a wand, and everything. But she lets me in, she tells me her name, and we have a great time. You know, we're playing Barbies, Polly Pockets, even though they're probably, I think the kids these days don't play with Polly Pockets. But we're having an imaginary tea party, you know, and I make sure that she eats, she has her snacks, you know, everything that she needs, you know. And so about 2 hours in, I notice a car pulls up in the driveway, and I see it's a teenage boy, probably around 16, and he's just sitting there on his phone. I'm like, okay, cool. That's probably their family, and my shift's about to wrap up. So let me get her ready for when I depart. You know, so then her mom walks in with the teenage boy, and carrying groceries. So they're carrying groceries in the house, and then so she looks at me. And she immediately goes, who are you? Why are you in my house? And there's no hello, no pause, just straight hostility and yelling, you know? And so I start calmly explaining to her, you know, so-and-so asked me to cover today. And she cuts me off. And she starts yelling and talking over me. She drops the groceries, and she's just going off. And I can't really get a word in explaining why I'm there. I'm just hearing all of this yelling going on. And so I'm standing there, I'm like, wait a minute. I'm confused. I'm scared. This woman's yelling at me. You know, and I didn't know what I was like, what if I was doing, I didn't know I was doing anything wrong. You know, and then as she's like yelling, she goes, you know what? And I'm not paying you. And I'm like, oh, okay. All right. And so something shifted. And so I took a breath, you know, after, I waited until she was done. And I took a breath and I said, I understand that you're upset about, a stranger being in your home. But I'm upset, I'm scared, and I'm unaware that you were unaware of that I was here. I explained my background, how long I've worked with children, my education, the school system, my experience with working with children beyond 5 to 21, and all different abilities and things like that. And I even told her where I lived, because suddenly I felt it wasn't just like why I was there. It was probably like who I was. So I said very clearly to her, since she said, I'm not paying you, and I was like, okay, if you decide not to pay me, I hope that it has nothing to do with discrimination. I hope that you can listen to your daughter about how I've treated her during the care that I've given her during this time. And I hope that, with we can, or you can go back to talk to whoever, so-and-so who provided me this opportunity and work this out. But at this time, I don't believe it's safe for me to be here. So I'm going to see my way out. Can I leave through this door right here? And then I leave. Right. And the kids are looking at me and looking at the situation, and then I leave. You can walk me out, or I'm going to leave right through these doors right here. And so I leave, I drive home 40 minutes away, So fast forward, we're thinking 2 weeks later. 2 weeks later, I get a check in the mail for probably like $1,000. Remember, so this is a dream. If you're just popping in, this is a dream that I had, and that I've we're looking at and we're reflecting on. So 2 weeks later, I get a check in the mail for about $1,000 with an apology note, a handwritten apology note. And then her asking me to come back and work for her again on this date, that date. So I looked at the note, I took the money out of the envelope, put it in my pocket, and I ripped up the note, ripped up the envelope, and I threw it in the garbage, and I threw it away, And so when I woke up, the message was clear to me, So, it reminded me that not all money is good money, right? And that alignment matters. How I feel matters. How I feel in a situation matters. How conversations matter. Communication matters. And I'm not even talking about the mother. I'm talking about the so-and-so who gave me this opportunity. Not even, they didn't relay the information to the mother that I would be there, so it put me in a scary and terrible situation. So it reminded me that, you need to know who you're working with too, you don't want people putting you in terrifying, scary, and, traumatic situations, carelessly. And so also what was really important was that when I was speaking to the mom, I felt like I was so scared and I wanted to cry and just like drop and leave, right? And not even say anything, my throat was shriveled up. It was like I couldn't speak. I wanted to just cry right at that moment. And so when I was proud of myself in the moment, that even when I'm scared, I can still stand up for myself, And so that happened when I received that check in the mail. I was like, okay, so she heard me, but that was all she'll hear from me again, So with that dream, that dream reminded me how much our body and our minds remember, So it wasn't really about the babysitting. It's about boundaries, and energy, and knowing when something isn't aligned, knowing the people you're working with, and those things, right? So I hope that you enjoyed my dream, and I hope that it might have triggered maybe a dream that you had. So I invite you to think about the last dream that you remember, and if you don't remember, maybe take some time tonight, maybe take take some magnesium that'll help you get into a deep rest so that you can get into REM sleep. And possibly after over some time, you'll be able to remember your dreams. Like the one that I just had, I'm seeing colors, I'm seeing people, hair color, playing Polly Pockets. These are very visual, very visual, And so if you can't remember a dream right now, maybe tonight, program in your brain, you're like, okay, I'm gonna have a restful sleep. Maybe get into a rhythm and a pattern for you to have a restful night's sleep. Maybe put some music on, a candle, make sure the room is warm, get your nice warm comfy blanket, because I heard it's gonna snow, so get ready. But if you don't remember, maybe if you don't remember when you wake up, maybe just when you wake up, remember the feeling that you had when you woke up. When you woke up, were you calm? Was it intense when you woke up? Did you wake up energized? Did you wake up drained? Did you wake up scared? Did you wake up excited? So these are just reflections that you can do with your dreams and when you wake up. And what I did when I remembered, I wrote it down. So I had my notes. So because it's been a couple, maybe like 3 days since I had that dream, and I was like, I need to share this, and so let me write it down. So that was just a really good time to sit there and write the dream out and understand why I had the dream. So sometimes it's not about the dream itself. It's about the feeling that it leaves behind. Oh, we have some comments. Shout out to Dr. J. I use his magnesium too. Right? You know what? Let me take a little bit before, because it's time for bed. I was all out in the house, all out and about, taking my magnesium for a good restful sleep tonight. Just a little swig. Cheers. Here we go. And we'll see what dreams come out tomorrow. All right. So, dreams could be another way that we can check in with ourselves. All right. So not just for answers, but for awareness. Okay. So I hope that you enjoyed tonight about dreams. And if you have some dreams that you remember, please share in the comments or when we post this. I'd love to hear about your reflections about the dream that you had and you were like, oh, I remember this, and then it reminded me to do this and that, the third. I'd love to hear it so we can be in community. All right, y'all. So thank you for joining tonight's Winter Wellness Check-in. And I'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow again at 6:30. All right. I think that's everything. All right. Peace, y'all. Oh, I love the hearts. All right. Peace, y'all. It's good here. It's good talking to you. I'll see you tomorrow, 6:30. Live.